All right, here we go. So let's just kind of say, so we're going to be talking about some function notation, just so you guys get used to it, and we're going to do some factoring and some multiplying. It's Thursday, 10/3. Video notes. We're starting to do notes that are due ahead of time, so you guys are going to have to kind of stay on the game with the notes. One of the good things to do would be able to watch the videos at home, take notes, and do the assignments in class. It's a way better system, so hopefully you'll get used to that. But we'll start turning in our notes now. Make sure that you understand that we're going to start turning in our notes, our online notes. Is that what we're looking for? So we're going to take and say f of x is equal to x squared minus 2x minus 24. And then we're going to say g of x is equal to x squared minus 9x plus 18. And there's different ways to write this function notation. So f divided by g of x. All that really means is we're going to take f and we're going to put that in the denominator. And we're going to take g and we're going to put it in, sorry, the numerator's on top, and then plus 18 is on the bottom. So this is in the numerator, this one's in the denominator, and then they want us to simplify it. So if we go to simplify this thing, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to factor this one, and we're going to have to factor that one. So off to the side here, we're going to look at this and say, okay, what multiplies together to make negative 24, but adds to make negative 2? So you got to run through all your factors. You've got 1 and 24. You've got 2 and 12. You've got 3 and 8. And you've got 4 and 6. So I can get 2 out of 4 and 6. So I know that 6 times 4 is 24, but I got to add to make negative 2, so that one's a positive, that one's a negative. So those are my factors for the top piece. X minus 6, x plus 4. Little factoring review right there. And then I'm going to turn around, I'm going to do the same thing here. What multiplies together to make 18, but adds to make negative 9? So you've got 1 and 9. Nope. 1 and 18. Nope. 2 and 9. Nope. 3 and 6. Yep, 3 plus 6 is 9, so I can do that. So I know it's a 3 and a 6. Said those backwards. I need to make a negative, and this is a positive, so it's got to be a negative here. And I got x minus 6 and x minus 3. So when I look at these, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for factors that are together. That's why these parentheses are there, that are the same. So anything over itself becomes 1. So then the only thing I'm left with is our x plus 4 over our x minus 3. Okay, so this is our factoring piece. We're just simplifying polynomials at this point. F divided by g, our function notation allows us to kind of use different equations. Factoring's the big review. So when we do that, we kind of take it a little bit farther and we take it into multiplying. So if we take it into multiplying polynomials, I'm just going to take these same two, so we already have the factors, so it doesn't take us as long. And we're going to put that over x squared minus 9x plus 18. And I'm going to multiply that by something a little different. Let's call it, I'm going to do it in different colors. So we've got x squared minus 8x plus 15. And then we've got x squared plus 6x plus 8. So I've got a couple different pieces there. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to factor everything. So we got to factor this one. We got to factor that one, and we have to factor both of these. Oops, factor. Factor that one, and factor that one. So, and when we do that, since we're multiplying, we really can write one big long fraction. So, I've got this big long fraction. I've got this piece that's going to get factored into 2 factors. I've got my blue one that is going to get factored into 2 factors. I've got my other one here, and I've got my red one that's going to get factored. Well, we already know from our previous problem, so I'm just going to steal from up above here. You may not be able to see it because of the camera, but I'm going to go x minus 6 and x plus 4. And then I got an x minus 6 and a x minus 3. So those are my factors at the beginning. Make my equal sign in there. So right now, these two are equivalent. Don't forget, and some of you may be going, what's that? That's a parentheses. So I have what multiplies together to make 8, but multiplies together to make 15, but adds to make 8. Well, 3 times 5 will make 8. 3 times 5 makes 15, but it adds to make 8. And I need a -3 and a -5. Those add to make -8 and an x and an x. Now if I go to my red one, what multiplies to make 8, but adds to make 6? 2 times 4 makes 8. 2 plus 4 makes 6. So I got a +2 and a +4. Throw our x's in front there. So now we need to start looking for things that are the same. So I've got those two that are the same. I have my x plus 4 here and my x plus 4 here. They're the same. I have my x minus 3 here and my x minus 3 here. Those are the same. So now what I've got is my leftover blue one and my leftover red one. So what we did is we made equivalent equations. So these are all equivalent. So all 3 expressions. It's not an equation because we're not solving for anything. All 3 expressions are equivalent. If it was an equation, we would set it equal to something like equal to 2 or equal to 0, and then we'd solve for the x. We're just making equivalents. So these guys are all equivalent of each other. That's a key word. So when you simplify, you make 3 equivalent expressions. Or you make equivalent expressions. All right, so let me add another piece to it here, so you guys get a little bit more practice at finding these lowest common denominators on the rationals. So if I have 2 and I have 6x squared y, and I have a subtraction. So this is for our assignment today, which would have been assignment 21. And this is subtracting and adding rationals, and then let's do it in a different color. Let's do 4x, and then we've got, let's do, let me think about this here. Let's do 12. 12x cubed, and that's it. So what we want to do is to find our lowest common denominator. We want to factor the first one, which is going to be 2 times 3 times x times y. And then I'm going to factor the 12, which is going to be 4, which is 2 times 2 times 3, x times x times x. So now I'm going to look at this here and go, okay, this has the most 2's in it. So my LCD is going to be 2 times 2. So I don't need that 2. Both of these have the same amount of 3's, so I'm going to take a 3. This one has more x's, so I'm going to take x to the third. Don't need those. And this one I have a y, and this one's missing a y, so I need a y. So my lowest common denominator is 2 times 2 times 3 times x to the third times y. So if I take my red one and I write it, and I look at this and go, okay, my red one, I'm missing a 2. I'm missing, nope, got a 3. I'm missing an x. I have a y, so I'm good there. So if I come down here, I get 2 times 2 is 4, so I got a 4x. 2 times 6 is 12. X squared times x is x cubed. And we got a y. And so that's my new equivalent. I put my subtraction sign in between. Take my 4x, take my 12x cubed. Now I look at this and go, okay, I've got all the numbers I need because that's 12, so those are going to match. I got x to the third. The only thing I need on this one is my y. So now I've got subtract 4xy and 12x cubed y. So now I need to kind of combine these pieces together. So I have my 12, I have my 12x cubed y all over the top 4x minus 4xy. Okay, now, some of the answers get simplified, which are good. So what we've got to look at here is we've got to look at C is there something I can take out of all three of these? If there is, I need to put equivalent signs. So those are equivalent. These are all equivalent, remember? So I'm going to look at this and go, okay, here we go. I think I can take a 4 out of this, a 4 out of this, and a 4 out of that. So I'm going to take a 4 out of the top, and that's going to leave me with an x minus y. Oops, x times, oh, look at that. I can take out, let me scratch this off. I can take out a 4x. 4x times 1 minus y. I divided a 4x out of both of those. And then I can take a 4x out of this. So I can take a 4x. And that leaves me with 4 divided by 12 is 3. Take an x away from that and a y. Cancel those out, and that's my equivalent answer. 1 minus y over 3x squared y. So, bunch of different ways to tackle this. I found a lowest common denominator using the, oops, let me go back down here. I found a lowest common denominator using the denominators that were given to me. You could also have simplified immediately here and done 1 over 3, and this could have been 1 over 3x squared. So there's a bunch of different ways you could kind of tackle it. But the idea is that you want to tackle this by using lowest common denominators. Find out what you need, and at the end, is there anything you can factor out? If there is, you factor it out and you cancel it out, and you end up making it a simplified version by creating a 1. 4x over 4x is 1, so that's why they cancel out. So that's the help with assignment 21.